Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending our Puna Strong Virtual Resource Fair. We're very excited this morning to have Pomai Weigert as our presenter for our very first session this morning. Pomai is an ag business consultant for the Go Farm Hawaii, a statewide program that develops new farmers and provides agribusiness support for ag-related businesses. She serves as an advisor for the Hawaii Ag Tourism Association and is a board member for the Agriculture Leadership Foundation of Hawaii. So Pomai, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Well, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk a little bit about agribusiness in Hawaii and kind of how things are looking on the agriculture front, who and what is still standing, what's changing. We're going to talk a little bit about strategy and survival. The things that I'm going to share with you today, they are not only for agribusinesses. These are for businesses across Hawaii, across the state, things that I've seen, strategies that I've seen and done and have helped be a part of. So we're kind of just going to go through what's happening in Hawaii in business, in agribusiness. What can people do to stay relevant and up to speed? And then kind of what are the next steps moving forward? Just to give everyone a little bit of background, thank you for the introduction. A lot of my background is in agritourism. My family, my mom, her and her business partner in the early 2000s started an agribusiness called Ali'i Pula Lavender on Maui, and that kind of just set the tone for the rest of my career and my work in agriculture. I did agritourism consulting for many years, and then I started with Go Farm and really started looking into food systems and growing new farmers and really how to set the next generation up to be successful in agriculture and tourism and Hawaii, as all these things as our economy changes, as our place changes. So I'm really going to share with you things that I've learned and things that I've practiced, things that work for me to be successful in agribusiness, but also business in Hawaii. Let's get started. What we're going to be discussing today is I'm going to give you a marketplace update, sort of what is going on now. The marketplace is really in flux, so I just want to validate and acknowledge early so that we can get on the same page. We're going to talk about some strategies for survival, what pivots have happened, what people are doing, what they're not doing anymore, what they're doing now. And then also strategies for success. Survival and success they're close, but they're different. So kind of just things or methods that have been working. We're also going to take a look at outreach. I think outreach is a big one, some strategies for that as well. And then what's the plan moving forward? How do people move forward? What does moving forward look like today? Okay, so marketplace update. I kind of broke it down to high level situations and then place-based survival. So high level, we're looking at like global impact. We're looking at bigger than Hawaii. We're looking at all the things that have happened in the world, in the country, in the state over the last 2-year period, about 18 months, but it feels like years at this point. And one of the biggest things is the COVID economy. So I teach a lot of courses on agri-marketing and agribusiness, and it always changes. It was pre-COVID economy, then it was in COVID economy, then it was post-COVID economy, where right now we're in a COVID economy where everything is in flux. Everything has changed. There's been a complete huli of what we were doing 2 years ago and then how we're trying to kind of weather the storm. Just based off of what we're seeing in the marketplace now, there's really no like returning to pre-COVID economy. It's more of the best way out is through. And that's kind of the way that everybody's moving. So it's just important that we be mindful that COVID had a really, in many cases, brutal impact on our economy and on our communities. And we are in a position to salvage, reinvent, reinvest our time, energy, resources differently, more wise, more strategic. We also on a higher level, but even on a micro level, there's a lot of inflation fluctuation. So the market is anyone's game. It's a real roller coaster. If that freaks you out, this is not the time to enter the marketplace. You have to be really creative, really flexible, really adaptable, really resilient. So if you're not really good at those things right now, best to get those skills ramped up before you head into the marketplace. Excuse me. And then if you're already in the marketplace, you either got stronger in those areas or you are no longer doing what you were doing before. Another thing that I think is important to address is in Hawaii specifically, but in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, we don't really have, we don't have the adequate in real life infrastructure for a lot of activities and things that we thought we did. Specifically in Hawaii, when we look at the impacts of our visitor industry, we had become so accustomed and so used to having such a heavy number of visitors that when we had an opportunity to not have so many visitors, we started to see things like the importance of our communities themselves, the importance of our natural resources, the importance of our families, all of these kinds of things really came into play. And that when we're seeing how we manage business in Hawaii overall, we're looking at whether or not we have the infrastructure, and infrastructure not only meaning like brick and mortar buildings, but the people. Do we have enough human resources to serve these many places, projects, business models? And then where did we lose human resource, and where is human resource going? So really taking a look at the kind of resources we have, and really where we can make cuts for survival, but then also where can we move people into positions where they're going to thrive, where they're going to be able to wear multiple hats, where they're going to be able to not just learn with all of these new things that are coming into play, but also lead. Online sales are on the rise. I think that's that was a big blind spot for a lot of people, especially in agriculture. You know, more than 50% of our farming community was not ready for online sales, or was not ready to pivot when it was time, because no one thought that there was going to be a time where like you had to do everything online. So I really kind of put this here as a warning so that, you know, it's not just something we say, or I'm saying to you, like, you know, try to figure out how you're going to do online sales and then wait a long, long time. And then a catastrophe happens and then we're scrambling and you don't know how. Online sales continue to ramp up, especially as like the season of buying in our communities, in our country, as those start to ramp up, online sales also begins to skyrocket. That has been a steady uptick. So that's important for us to understand. So when we're looking at our businesses, we make sure that we are positioning them to make the maximum amount of revenue. We also see a lot of brick and mortar, like in real life locations and places shifting in hours, shifting in employees, shifting even in business model and mission. So I think that I've also in the last 2 years seen not only mission drift, like where you thought this was always going to be what you did all the time and 100%, to where like, you know, you're not only, you know, you haven't decided that you're just going to drift, but you're going to change. Like what we thought was the way might not be the way anymore. So I just want to, like, everyone has to become comfortable and accustomed to figuring out what works for them, and how to keep their businesses and essentially their families sustainable. And we've seen a lot of change in that area, again, locally, globally, on many different levels. And then also that information and media affects spending. My background is largely in the agri-marketing sort of marketing area or zone. So I'm always really tapping into, like, what are people doing? How are they buying? Spending and buying and purchasing is largely emotional, and what is triggering people and their behaviors in buying and spending has a lot to do with the information that they're provided. We're in a really overwhelming technological age, and information is so overpowering. There are so many viewpoints, so many strategies. It's really like the wild, wild west. So kind of keeping that in mind as we're looking at, like, what is going to be successful if you do intend to ramp up your business, go into business, start your business, that with new information comes new behavior. And that really, I want everybody to kind of be thinking about how that's going to affect their business. Like, are they going to be able to, weather change? What is going to be your plan for when things change? Because change is not over. We're going to be on a steady trajectory of change for at least the next 2 to 4 to 6 to 10 years. And I think that everyone is really trying to figure that out. We have no solid answers. It's a really important time for, like, humility, some grace, some regroup. Figuring out, like, what are the next steps is really a daily challenge. On the place-based, Hawaii, when we really look at Hawaii and the survival of Hawaii, I've been really fortunate because of our Go Farm program. We are statewide. Also with the Hawaii Agritourism Association, we are statewide. So I've had, really the great honor and ability to work with farmers, communities, marketplaces all across the state to really see, like, what is happening and, like, who's surviving. And not everyone survived the last 2 years. Not everybody survived March 2020 to June 2020. I mean, there were a lot of big hits. There was a lot of shock. But one thing for sure is that business models are changing every day. What you thought your business model was 2 years ago should not be the same now, even if your mission is the same. So your mission is still the same, but, like, the model, the way that we look at how we get customers, the way that we get revenue, the way that we engage with our guests and our community, that has become a lot more sharpened and really honed in. For the small businesses that are surviving, if you're a big business and you're a big corporation and you have a lot of budget, I mean, you can take $1 million losses. It hurts, but it's not the same as, like, a small family local business taking $1 million loss. That is going to wipe them out. So again, kind of when we look at how to forecast, which is really difficult during this time we're in, it's about, like, what's plan B, C, or D? Like, how can we turn this situation on the up? And that's really the attitude that people need to have, especially if they're going into the market right now. Number 2, the local market is still primary. A big blind spot that people had during the pandemic was they didn't have enough local market. So when the out-of-state market was taken away, they were scrambling to get a local market. A local market doesn't just happen overnight. You need to really invest in marketing, connecting, collaborating, and contributing to your local market, your local community, and then they will be your stronghold when things fluctuate. But if you're just trying to run to a local market in an emergency, for those of us, those of you, everyone, really got an opportunity to see like how that doesn't work. You can't just call on a local market and be like, oh, hi, we're here now and we're struggling, please come and support us, if you hadn't been supporting them the whole time. So really understand that the local market is about reciprocity. Local markets take time to build. And I really recommend that as anyone is going into business, agribusiness, small business, local business, like looking at how are you going to get your local market to remain loyal. So just kind of planting those seeds in everyone's mind. Also reinvention, resilience, and transparency. The last 2 years have been an incredible learning curve for everyone. So everyone is okay that we are not perfect. We are not perfect. And what a consumer is really looking for right now is like wanting to know what's the plan. So in the strongest brands that I've seen survive, even if they're small brands, it's really been about letting the people know what's happening, why it's not perfect, and not in a way where you're like, oh, woe is me and you're a victim, like in the way of, we are trying to get these things to you. There are a couple of hiccups. This is what we're doing to make it better. Like those kinds of messages have been really, have really worked out in the marketplace. And then also just the resilience to change, to shift, to still be here. I mean, that's like I said, we lost many good businesses over the last 2 years, but also many new good businesses were born. So really thinking about, okay, well, if this isn't working, what else I can do, has really worked out for those who are still in the game. And then small businesses can make big impacts with collaboration. Just the impact small businesses have made on communities and communities have made in small businesses has been incredible. We really need on the ag side, for sure, we really need our communities to support local, buy local, believe in local. I say that the same is true for all of our other small businesses, eateries, artisans, and now is a really good time to engage and see where you can provide an, a product that is in demand. And really looking around for like what that is in your community. Okay, so that's like the overview. That's where we're at. So I just like to like kind of get us on a level playing field on what is our baseline? Like this is what is happening. Also, the marketplace update changes all the time. Like in a month, this could be different. I update this slide every time that I teach a class or a course, because one little change is one little change. Things are always changing and fluctuating. So like that's kind of the biggest seed to plant in your brains, is that like we're not out of it. We're very in it still. Okay, market analysis, just some survival modes, just some things that I again want to just plant those seeds in people's minds, to reminders, like validating that these things are important is number one. Understanding your finances, this is huge. I feel like for business owners, everyone, I mean, this is not like new information. This is just information that I still see even from veteran business owners, from people who have had businesses, have had multiple businesses. The finances are really the kill shot. Like that's the thing that takes you under. So really looking at like, if you're in the red, you need to get out of the red. You need to start strategizing how to get out of the red, because like red gets redder. And you want to make sure that you're not in that zone. You also want to, kind of pencil it out, like take a look. Everyone has dreams. Everyone has great grand ideas, but if it doesn't pencil out, you are going to struggle. You're probably going to be able to coast it initially, which some people have that gift. Like you can kind of coast the idea, like fake it till you make it kind of for a little while, but like in the very short end, your finances are going to creep in. You can't float forever. So really be thinking about that, and or where you're going to get investment and or capital to make this dream happen. Number 111, yes, please understand your finances. before you make any crazy decisions. Number two, relevance and accessibility. If you're trying to sell something, and this is specific, I mean, like for farming, but also for just products, local products in general, if I can't get to you or know how to contact you, I can't get your product. So that is something, you know, I think definitely for the agricultural community, that's been a little different. We kind of, we're on farms, and sometimes farms are not always accessible to folks, and that's the way we like it. But if we are going to go into business, people need to be able to find us. So just be thinking about like, how are people finding you? And then like your relevance to the marketplace. In agriculture, we're relevant because we grow food, but that doesn't mean that everybody understands how important we are. We do not grow enough food. Hawaii does not grow enough food to feed Hawaii. So that is something that I would like just everybody to swallow. Like, and we cannot build more capacity to grow you more food in the agricultural community unless you support buying those things. So a lot of times we'll get people say like, oh, how come we don't grow enough food? Like, well, we would need people to buy that food if we grew it. And that connection is not always set in place. So really just be thinking about like how you are supporting local if you are a buyer, but if you're a grower, who are those people that buy your food and where are you going to go and get them? Number three, look for blind spots and diversify revenue. There were a lot of blind spots that surfaced in the last 2 years. And a blind spot could be in something like an inefficiency in your systems, or something that you were paying for that you don't need to, or cutting labor or needing labor, or there was an area of the market that no one was really tapping into. And I can give an example. So for example, I live in Hawaiian Homes, and the area that I live is like far from any type of delivery. And during the pandemic, there was a business of food. There was like a food truck that we had that would always go to town and always sell in town, but no one would deliver out here. And the business owner decided to like come out to Hawaiian Homes and bring food, food delivering at different areas around the Hawaiian homestead. And no one else was doing that. So she was able to take the entire market out here. So again, like looking at where are there areas of need, where can you pilot something right now? I mean, you don't have to do things forever. She's not doing that anymore because market has changed. Things change every month, every week. But like during that time, she needed to make it happen for her business. So she took her business to where it was. And then once that changed, she took her business back to where it was. So again, really helping people get comfortable with being flexible is really important part of what I'm here to share. Like, if it's not working, change it. And then if it changes, change to another thing. Like that's what's happening in the marketplace right now. And then really don't put all your eggs in one basket. Really look at different places and ways to diversify your revenue. I always like to use three, like look for 3 places you sell and 3 cash crops that you have. For those of you that are not in ag, cash crop could be product. Like what are 3 products that you can sell in multiple places? Especially in agriculture, one storm, one pandemic, one pest can wipe out an entire crop. So you want to make sure that you have a plan B, C, or D in the event that you have to switch things up. Number 4, insider and outsider intel and connections. This is a big one. I think that there's a lot to be said for business in Hawaii in regards to knowing people. You got to know people. You got to have some type of connection, but you don't have to have so many connections. You just have to have good people in your corner that are going to help you open up doors and open up opportunities. You also want to know what is happening. Like you want to know, like, what's the word on the street? Like who's doing what's happening, and be able to do that type of research. I think a lot of times people don't, they're looking for some type of report. Like there's no report right now. Our report right now is like going out to the place and checking it out and seeing what's the vibe. So that is, you know, you want to tap into your contacts and your connections, your community, your family. People in Hawaii know things. So you want to kind of just ask around about where you're going, what they think about your products, testing them out, who's your competition, who you can collaborate with. And same is to be said if like you kind of have a junky reputation as well. So you want to make sure that you position yourself to be like not a junky reputation, but like somebody who has a quality product and a quality plan. And then number 5, level up or level out. People are leveling up right now. If you're like mediocre and like half-hearted, you're not going to make it out there right now. People are not wanting to spend their money on like, okay. And maybe they'll do it once because they're so starved for being out and about, but there's somebody else out there that's more hungry for the business and able to provide better service. So really think about like, when I ask around about your business, like what are people going to say? Are they going to say they're great, awesome, I hope they make it? Or are they going to say like, they're not going to survive? Really have some self-awareness. I feel like that's a big one for businesses and brands right now. To like, what are the people saying? And is your product relevant to the marketplace? Okay, a couple other important considerations. Number 1, advocating for the farmer. So this is a big thing that I see, and really I touch on this because in agriculture, especially, but also local business, small business, sometimes people don't know their worth. And a lot of times we'll get asked to collaborate. Like people want to put a farmer on it. They want to say that they sell local, they buy local. And I'm kind of not okay with like farmer wash or like local food wash, where you just are saying that, but you don't really do it. Also, farmers and local businesses and small businesses often get asked to donate things, which is fine if it makes sense, if it looks like a win-win, that totally makes sense. But if there is budget or opportunity to support your farmers, your local and small businesses, like, then that's something that should be thought about and planned in. And I think a lot of times people don't think about it because they're like, oh, I mean, farmers never ask for that. Like farmers never really ask because that's just not their style. But, you know, we as leaders in the industry, we need to advocate for those people. And, you know, if somebody comes who like wants to, you know, wave the we believe in farmers and we support local flag, then like they actually need to do that. Another example of that is, you know, there's a lot of events that are happening around like local food, local drink, you know, really also at those events, not just having it in the promo or the media, but like actually having local food there and people who grow local food there to make that message be real. So I plant that seed so that everybody can consider that. I think that oftentimes that gets overlooked. Like, yes, it is an incredible opportunity for a local small business and our farmers to be featured. So that's definitely a win-win. But when we are looking at like all these other things that we budget for when we are doing promotion or even advocacy, that we consider budgeting and paying our farmers, our small businesses, and our local businesses what they are worth. And we're only going to be able to start changing that system if we start doing that. Like we ourselves have to see the worth in this food that is grown and in these people who grow this food, if we are going to want them to stay and continue to grow it, like when times are great and also when times are tough. 2, representation. So representation, in this specific case, local food. You know, when we're going to, again, I see a lot of people who want to put like local on their menus. And it's important that local food is represented, local connection is represented in your business brands right now, especially as a small local business. And that it is also very realistic to say that it's hard. You cannot do a full-blown local menu, you know? So like just be looking at, is local food and local people and local values represented in your branding? I think that a lot of those brands are really strong right now. Number 3, brand awareness. You know, we get a lot of, especially on the agribusiness side, we get a lot of questions, especially from new farmers, new people coming into business about cultural appropriation. That is also something that a hot topic right now. And, you know, it's important when we look at our brand, what does our brand stand for and what is our connection? So whenever I'm speaking or talking or sharing with anybody who is going to create a new business, that whatever they name it, whatever their values are, that they have a true direct connection to that. And they are aware of what their brand looks like to the larger community, not just what does their brand look like to an outside visitor, or what does their brand look like to people who are not in their community. So I just like everybody to be thinking about that as well, that like, you don't want to be a part of sort of extractive messaging where you take a message from another community or place or culture and you make like that it's yours, and then you go and tell everybody it's yours, but it's not yours. So just again, really being aware of your brand and what is the message of your brand. Number 4, having realistic expectations. That's like a big one. Like I'm all for shooting for the high, like really shoot for the stars. But also, you know, set realistic expectations and goals for yourself. Like, again, a lot, when I talk about like local food representation, I know that we don't grow enough food in Hawaii. So I know that it is very hard for you to put a 100% local menu on there. Yeah, but really, I think what the consumer is looking for is like that you're trying. Like that is really the realistic expectation right now, that you're trying to do better. Not that you're trying to do junk, because I feel like that's also something that I see a bunch too. Like you're just so, I've seen business owners where like they have become victims already. Like it's just too much. And maybe at that point you want to just like pull yourself out the side door and figure out how you're going to regroup. And if this plan is working out for you. And then number 5, offering solutions. I feel like right now, I've seen this a lot in the last 18 months, 2 years, is like people are ready to do anything, but they don't have any ideas. And that's not enough right now. Like if you want to do something, if you want to collaborate, like you should have an idea. That doesn't mean we're going to go with your idea, but you didn't show up with nothing, waiting for others to think of the idea. Like if you came knocking because like you have an opportunity, then you should have a solution or an idea. So also thinking about that as you're building your business. Okay, this is a lot, but I'm just going to go through it really quick. These are strategies for success. I absolutely use these to make things happen. I guide all of our participants who come through, all of my clients. And these are, again, everyone here hopefully is an adult learner and is going to do whatever they want. And that's great. And these are just methods and information that might help give you ideas, stimulate conversation and or action. And the first one is innovate and collaborate. You know, we have a lot of lifelong learners out there, which is great. But we also need lifelong leaders. Like we need more leaders in our industry. So once you've learned enough to start teaching someone else something that you've learned, that's where we need you to be in the business place right now. We're always looking for economic opportunity when we're looking at businesses. Yeah, it shouldn't be like no economic opportunity. You want to make sure that there's going to be some benefit in that area. Again, we talked about the multiple revenue streams, so be looking at those. Like whenever I look at business models, I feel like the strongest ones have at least three things and three places they sell. And then the multiplier effect. You want to create business and economy that is win-win, not just take or give. You want to make sure that everyone, it's reciprocal again. Like you want to make sure that we all win. Like that's the way. Number 2, place-based communication. This is a big one. I always go back and forth on whether or not I think it should be number 1. Because like if you can't get into a place, then you can't get in there to innovate or collaborate. Every place, every town, every home, every region or district has a way of communicating. So it's really important that whatever you do, whenever you're going to go into any type of business in the world, but especially in Hawaii, that you really go in there with respect and intention. That's a big one. And I feel like there's been a lot of misstep in that specific area, with folks going into business feeling entitled, and not asking for permission and not letting their intentions be known. So before you do go into any type of business or community or collaboration, go in respectful and like knowing what is your intent. And hopefully your intent is to also collaborate and create win-win. Look at your contacts. Your contacts are really important. How does that work? You don't need many. You just need like your contacts are the people who help open doors for you. And then again, turn to your community and your culture to support you. They've been really, communities have been really supportive during this era of new business. The nicher, the richer. Again, realistic expectations. I can't tell you how many unrealistic expectations I see all the time. It's just, and on that note, I also know that if you have a dream, you have a vision, and I can't stop you no matter how much I don't think it's going to work out. And when I talk to you, you will not be stopped, then you will not be stopped. And I feel like that is something, I mean, there is something to be said for those people who will not be stopped. They're going to go all the way, but not everybody has that. and that's not everybody's method. So again, I want everybody to, it's better if you have a plan. You can still go for that dream, but a lot of times we're looking at like, what does that planning look like? Start small, look at your capital. How much capital do you have? Do you have any capital? A lot can be done with a little capital. So that's important to know. But like, if you have nothing, it's going to be really hard. So assess that. Also, your return on investment. Return on investment doesn't always have to be financial impact. It can be a community impact as well. And then buying and building the brand. A lot of times you are the brand. You are the brand ambassador. So really looking at your business and remembering that, like when you're out there, like you're the one that is purveying the message, and you're the one that is living that life and believing in that. And that is why people believe in you. So really be thinking about that when you're out there. And then location is everything. Is there a ready-made market? Do people even want what you are making or have or selling or growing? Assess the market and the competition. Assess like how long it's going to take you to produce, and then how long it's going to take others to consume. A lot of times that's a big one that is not aligned. Like you're just producing all of these, but like who's going to buy them? Like know that before. And specifically in farming, before you plant it, you should know who you're planting it for. Like that's kind of a big thing that we like to get across, because nothing like growing like buckets and buckets and buckets of tomatoes, and then like now you're looking for people to buy tomatoes the day of harvest of tomatoes. Like you want to kind of make sure that your planning is more aligned. And then compliance, depending on what you want to do and who you think you are and what you think you're going to do, like that could take some compliance. You could face an uphill battle trying to make sure that you have everything you need to be legal. So just be thinking about that, like within your dream map, where does compliance come in? Okay, outreach starter kit. I just like to talk about this. Whether you already have a business or you're looking to work with farmers, who you want to work with, or even small businesses, really, honestly. These are the things, if you're just starting out, these are the things you're going to need. So again, I work mostly on the marketing end. And if you want to get a story in a magazine, if you want to be on the news, if you want to have PR and community relations, you are going to need at least these things to start. We cannot promote you if you don't have an email. We cannot promote you if you don't have a phone number. We need you to have a logo. We need you. They're going to ask for a photo of the farmer or a photo of the business. They're going to ask for a photo of the product. Like, these are things that regularly happen. So I bring it up because I want people to be ready. Like, I love to promote small business, local business, small farmers. But like, if we don't have these things, then actually I'm getting you ready to have these things. Yeah. So I just put it here so that if people are trying to get up to speed, and they're not, this is what they need, and you can send them this list. Or if you're just starting out, like, go and get this list. You need to have a social media usually. I mean, I see some people who don't have it, but again, if we're going to market you, we're going to put you, a writer is going to come visit you in your farm or your business. Like, you need to have some type of social media. A website is also helpful. A way for us to pay you. There's nothing like promoting your business, but then we can't buy anything. So again, and this is geared toward farmers, but this is also any local business or entrepreneur ever. Like, you have a product and then like, you're like, oh, I only take cash. Like, it's a little amateur. Like, you need to at least have a Venmo at this point, or Cash App. And then number one, biggest thing is a can-do attitude. This is huge. If you're one of those people who get sad, like every time you get told no, or it doesn't work out, or there's a little bit of a hiccup, like, you don't belong in the business world right now. So really assess that. Like, can you have a can-do attitude? I'm not saying be happy every second. I'm saying, like, if it doesn't work out, you're okay. You're going to just think of what is the next plan and the next solution. Okay, research and collaborate. I brought up collaboration a lot. I've seen a lot of people, I mean, honestly, collaboration, creating collaborative products is a good way to hit revenue goals faster. Specifically in agriculture, it takes a long time to grow food. So that's another thing, is like, for anyone watching who wonders, like, why don't we just have so much food? Like, well, because it takes time to grow, which I think a lot of people didn't realize until the pandemic. Like, oh, why can't we just get, 100 pounds of broccoli? Well, because only today you wanted 100 pounds of broccoli. So we're going to have to grow it. However, if you are open to or can do value added or collaborative products, you could take, one bag of cornmeal and turn that into like multiple things, or collaborate with a bake shop, with another, even with a cute boutique. Really, there's so much potential if you're open to collaborating and seeing those win-win situations. Research, people don't do their own research enough. They're like hoping somebody else has the answers. And in regards to research, if you want to know something, for example, market research, you want to know like, what are people selling things for? Then you're just going to go into the store that you want to sell and see if there's anything out there that is like what you're selling. Like, you have the power to do the research yourself. You can empower yourself. So you don't have to wait around, like I said, for a report, or like, what are the stats on that? Like, right now, those stats are fluctuating and or old. So you want to be able to get out there and check it out for yourself. I went ahead and put Hawaii Farm Trails mobile app. This is the Hawaii's agritourism app. Agritourism is an incredible way to diversify your agribusiness, but also we're seeing so many opportunities to collaborate with small businesses, boutiques, shops, food events, chef events. So I really recommend everybody kind of taking a look at the app, checking out what else is out there, what other people are doing, what they're offering outside, like being outside. That's very in right now for obvious reasons. So Like, what are things that you can do to align with supporting local farmers, local business, your local business? Like, all of that is all a part of being in a community. So don't be afraid to do your own research and even pilot a collaboration. You do not need to go into a collaboration forever. You can go into a collaboration one time. Like, hey, we have this idea. Maybe we can work on piloting this once, see how it goes, and reassess. Don't get locked into anything too long term, because we don't really know what's going to happen long term. Okay, moving forward. So right now, I mean, this kind of fluctuates. Right now, we're about like, I'd say that the threshold is about 4 weeks. Like every 4 weeks, we get like new information, something has changed. We have a new rule, a new adjustment, a new mandate, a new assessment, new information. So just kind of be keeping that in mind, that like, that's how things are moving. They're kind of moving in like a month to month. So you want to kind of look, I mean, you want to try to strategize as far as you can, but you want to just kind of keep agile just in case things change. Do not set yourself up to be reliant on the out-of-state market. Fill the needs of your community. So the out-of-state market is unreliable, and we're seeing that our busy seasons are becoming really, really strong, but our off seasons are becoming very, very slow. So that obviously could change, but you want to just make sure that that you're aware of that. Really invest in your local market, because they're the ones that are going to keep you strong if anything changes. Don't get comfortable. Again, like I said, do not get comfortable. If you're feeling like, oh, I'm feeling comfortable, that's scary. That's very, very scary. Things could change at any moment. Things are still changing right now as we speak. But what you want to do is you want to get comfortable with being flexible. And then in that way, like, you'll be able to, figure things out. Understand what the consumers are facing. Like, that's a big thing. You yourself are a consumer. So as things change, fluctuate, thrive, survive, that like you have an understanding of like what is happening in your place, in your community, in your marketplace as well. And then figure out how you're going to make adjustments. Like, okay, I see this happening. Maybe we should shift. I would also caution everyone though to like, don't shift every single time. Like really gather information, make little changes and pivots as needed. But don't be like chaotic or sporadic, because I also see that too. Like, oh, wow, this brand is like really, it feels manic. So you don't want to be like one of those manic brands. You want to be a brand that is like willing to change, but it is going on a steady course. And then solution through, I can't say that enough. I mean, solution through, figure it out. Like, that's a big one. That was a big blind spot, I think, for the pandemic in general. Or people in general, like folks just got real comfortable with not figuring it out on their own. They were just really comfortable with other people figuring it out. So the solutioning through was weak. And those people didn't really survive because they were like just pieces in a puzzle. We're like, we don't just need pieces. I mean, not even in a puzzle, just pieces. And that we don't only need more pieces or more products. We need more pathway. We need more things that help people get the things they need. So be thinking about where you fit into that. Call to action in business, in agribusiness, you need strategy to play. What are you committed to do to stay in business? These are just some recommendations. Start telling your story now. Look at the starter kit, look at going on social media and letting people know what is the kind of work that you're doing. Don't wait until like you have it all built and then you're now trying to reach out to folks. Let them know about your journey, and how you're winning and surviving and thriving. We don't really need more sad stories in the system. We need more success stories. So try to really position yourself as a success story. Pay attention to what's happening and changing around you. Pay attention. That was another big one. Like, what is happening in your community, in your marketplace. Where do you want to sell? What do you want to do? So that you know what kind of moves you should make. And then pilot ideas, stay informed, stay enriched, and stay alive, basically, for like the next, as we're going into the next phase, the next threshold. Those would be my recommendations. And then any questions, my email is on the first slide of this presentation. I'm going to send this over to the team so everybody has access to it, and then load it up wherever it needs to be loaded up. We just always at the end of these like to thank all of our partners for making it possible for us to do our great work and get out there and make things happen for agriculture and business in Hawaii. Well, that is it for me. I'm going to stop my share.
Wow, Pomai, that was absolutely incredible. There's so much information packed into that presentation. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh my God, I got an hour. I'm going to give you a full hour.
I just had a couple questions, if you had a couple of minutes.
Yeah, of course.
You talked about earlier in your presentation about changing business models. So what resources are there to help people who may not know how to develop a new business model when they've been going into one current for so long and they have to change plans? How would you recommend, or where would some of your resources to help build a new model?
That is a good question. I would say that, I mean, if you are in agriculture, you can always reach out to Go Farm Hawaii specifically, like that. We do help consult folks who are looking for, a new way, or what is a more relevant way. But if you just have a small business, also SBA is another good one. I feel like they also help guide people towards like re-evaluating what the business model looks like. And I feel like a lot of times that re-evaluating has a lot to do with looking at the finances as well. So that's kind of like when we reassess, we also we're gonna have to dig into like, well, what are you playing with? and see kind of where that is at.
Mm-hmm. Great. Wonderful. And then my second question was more of a common question. I really enjoyed your presentation about local reciprocity, and the idea of if we want to produce local products, then we have to have the market to actually have people to buy it. So encouraging our people watching that who are bouncing back from disasters and trying to come back with their own businesses and local products, that you really think about what local products are needed and the folks who are going to buy it who live here. Not just the people who are coming in because they're visiting, but on the day-to-day, which I think is the point of that segment, is to really make sure that you know that market in terms of how we're going to produce something that's going to stay here and benefit our community.
Totally. And I think that it's just, we just need to be reminded, like that's the thing, is like we see it all the time. People use it in a lot of, marketing and branding, but like, I don't think they remember or realize like what it means. And that like, if we don't do it, we will not have it for when it is crazy time. And I think we really saw that during the pandemic. I mean, especially in ag, like even our close people we had texting us, asking us like, where can we get a CSA? Where can we get local food? Everyone's out. Like, no, we're out. Like we're out. We can't do it enough. And that really knowing, especially for local food, the only people who were able to get food at that point, local food, were those who knew someone who was farming. So like CSA bags were out, like people weren't doing those, but like if you knew a farmer, then you could get food. So it was kind of like build those relationships, and that knowing of your farmer and respecting of your farmer now, early. Like don't wait till like you're like freaked out. like go support now so that we can build that capacity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Pomai, we have come to the end of our time, and I do want to thank you so much for your presentation and all the information that you provided to the people watching. So thank you so much, Pomai. It was a pleasure having you.
Yes, thank you for having me, and I hope everybody has a great day. I will send my presentation to you, and you can send it wherever it needs to go. And if anybody needs me, I'm pretty fairly reachable. So thank you so much for putting this on, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Likewise, Pomai. Thanks, and everybody watching. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the fair.